It was always there, underlying everything that I did. But to my surprise, started doing the method, that dramatically changed. I remember kind of the first day I felt it, the angst, life and death and all of that. And it followed into my teenage years, and it was pretty difficult at times. But then I was a young adult, and I came into yoga and meditation, and that helped a lot. But it was always there, underlying everything that I did. But to my surprise, started doing the method, that dramatically changed. And today, 2 years later, it doesn't come anymore.
You don't have any
It's like,
anxiety?
no, I mean, yeah, maybe on a really bad day, it will be a little bit, but I just do a few pauses and it's gone.
Mm.
But the dramatic thing is my mind has changed so much.
Mm-hmm.
So the body has been a tremendous change in the body, but my thinking and my attitude, even though I've studied yoga for a lot of years, and I'm familiar with the texts. I've studied the text. I've had the attitude from the text, but still not living it fully. And I felt I am the closest to it after studying the method, really knowing what is going on. And I have a far way to go to have any kind of mastery over anything, but still, this is understanding and this, just lack of anxiety. To me, it's a freedom. It's a total freedom not to be burdened by it.
Well, we've got a few people that have practiced yoga quite deeply, because the whole aim of yoga is to get that state of equanimity so that you can think easily and rest easily, that the mind isn't constantly turning things over.
Absolutely. And it's something about patterns, the patterns of thought in your mind, and then the result, the behavior from them, and everything kind of related to the anxiety. Whereas, worrying about money or job or whatever has just disappeared. The association of it has completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
That has been my surprise. And another factor is I'm most of the time happy. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah, happy. That's the normal state, is to be happy. Mm.
Absolutely.
So what would your control pause be when you started to notice a significant change from 18 to what, roughly?
I think I started to notice very quickly. Probably 2025, I started to feel, okay, there is something shifting here in my thinking and mental patterning, and just the symptoms of anxiety, as the tightness in the abdomen, and that kind of just started to dissipate more, I would say, after 2025.
Are there any
That
other symptoms that you noticed?
sleep is just fantastic. I can sleep less, a lot less. Energy is good, and if it drops, I do pauses. Probably there is a sign of ME. What is it?
Chronic fatigue.
Yeah, when you live with something and something is normal, like the anxiety is just kind of part of you, you just stop noticing. And a lot of feeling of tiredness after meal, I would just be exhausted. It just becomes the norm for you. That has changed. I eat and I'm fine.
Great.
And what has dramatically changed is my eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
I can take one meal and sometimes I'm fine.
One meal a day.
Yeah, one meal a day.
Mm.
Or when I eat little.
Mm.
And the attitude towards food, as number one, the habit of eating has become a lot more conscious, and it was quite conscious before. So I'm not kind of hungry, I'm not deeply hungry. I eat, but there is this feeling of really taking time with it. There is a kind of a different feeling around the habit of eating and what I eat and how much I eat. That is dramatically changed. And also, if I do eat something kind of not good, I feel it immediately in my control pause.
I even found that if I'd anticipated wrongly when I chose some food in a restaurant, that when it came, if it didn't look right or didn't smell right, I couldn't eat it.
Okay.
That's how it got. I'm very picky.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I can feel maybe sometimes, if you think about the form of anxiety that was there and chronic just tightness in the abdomen, which I just lived with, thought it was just normal, you know. Part of it is still there, but it is dissolving more and more and more and more.
Yeah, well, I think that when people play wind instruments when they're young, it does affect that whole musculature quite severely. I've seen it before in other wind instrument musicians. And I've a couple of musicians I've worked with who were professional wind instrument players. Their whole musculature has completely got scrambled. It's abnormal. And once they start the method, they really feel it.
That's interesting because I played the tuba from 7 to 12, so early age. I was a tiny person with a huge tuba.
Yeah, and your breathing wouldn't have been optimal at that age. It would have affected the structure of your muscles in some way, and because it's a lot of effort, it's likely it would have produced spasm, and then because you're growing, you'd sort of develop in that way.
Yeah.
And it happens with singers too. This method's really good for singing because singing is a wind instrument as well as being string.
Mm-hmm. It is very interesting. I'm just thinking, I'm a mechanical person, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic for people who are using their voice a lot.
Yeah.
Because it gives them a much wider range, much better breath control so they can relax into doing the sounds, much better control as they're changing pitches because the micro movements of the muscles improve and the tone.
So that's due to the training the diaphragm, is it?
The CO2 level goes up
Mm-hmm.
and it affects the function of the muscles. So they get better tone because the tonus of the muscles improves. They get better control of their breath and of the movement of the sound. They can move the sound much more easily. They can hold it because it has to balance on top of the diaphragms. There's different places that it resonates. They can hold it there without much effort. It's much less effort to hold the sound inside. And even in the head, it's much easier to hold it in the head. If you've got three voices, you've got the head voice, the chest, and the bottom.
Okay.
And this also applies to playing a tuba or a clarinet or any kind of wind instrument. You're actually putting pressure on your own vocal instrument.
Yeah. There's actually one more thing. I'm always hot.
You're always warm.
I'm always warm. And I was a cold person before. My family just, you know, my wife and two girls, I have my hands on them all day because I'm just so surprised. I'm always hot.
Great.
Living in this cold country, you know, I need less clothes. So yeah, I mean, I relate all of that to kind of the anxiety and the tightness and lack of circulation. And my whole family has this lack of circulation. So I'm going against all of that. That's really interesting.
It is interesting. And Buteyko was the same. He had that antagonistic high blood pressure, and all of his family had that too. That was his problem.
Okay. It's a nice byproduct, you know.
Oh.
This is the key of all hatha yoga, heat.
And the skill in shallow breathing produces heat as well.
Yeah,
You
totally.
get really good at shallow breathing.
Yeah.
You get warm.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I also felt there was when I hit a certain part in the control pause, then everything started to change because I didn't feel this heat from the beginning. It came and went, came and went. Now it's just constant.
That's great.
Yeah, it is really great because it's such a feeling of well-being when you feel everything is kind of functioning nicely. You forget all the benefits. There are just so many, you know. But you just started, and this is the new norm. But just how was it before, you know? Tremendous change for sure, on every level, physically, mentally, energetically, a really tremendous change. You forget all the benefits. There are just so many. This is the new norm. How was it before, you know?